welcome to Amy Hart's Mums Club. In this podcast, I'll be sharing the highs and lows of being a mum, plus each week I'll be joined by a special guest and together we'll delve into their experiences of parenthood. And that's not all. This podcast is for you. Me and my gaggle of fabulous guests will be sharing tips, tricks and advice from our journeys to help you in yours. Now, let me tell you about my guest today. Now, today is a very special episode. I've known this guest for 32 years because it's my mum. So as we celebrate Mother's Day here on Amy Hart's Mums Club, please welcome to the podcast my mum, Sue Hart, or Sue Ellen, as we call you.
Not anymore.
Not anymore, because now she started running. We used to call her Sue Ellen because she was a drunken and unfit mother, Sue Ellen. She actually wasn't. But thank you for coming on the podcast. This isn't really your thing, is it?
Not really.
It's not really your gig.
I like to be in the background.
Yeah. If Dad was here, that would be his thing. But it's not Father's Day, it's Mother's Day, so you're here. Now, did you always want to be a mum?
Yes. Yeah, always.
Yeah. When you were younger?
I can't really remember, but from like adulthood, definitely.
I was going to say, was it like a thing? Because obviously you got married quite young, got married when you were 20.
Yeah.
Was it like you wanted to have a baby, or was it like, oh, now I'm married, I have a baby?
No, I wanted a baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to have you quite young as well.
Yeah, so you were a mum at 22. What was that like?
I didn't know any different, did I?
No.
But looking back, I think I probably was too young. But now it's great because I'm 55 and you're all grown up, I've got grandchildren and I'm living my life.
You're living your life. How did you find being a parent?
In what way?
Well, like, how did you find it? Did you find it easy? Did it come quite naturally to you? Did you have to get, like, nannies, like, help?
No, it didn't come naturally. And I think that's from being too young, really. 22 now, looking back, was too young. When you were a tiny, tiny baby, just home from hospital, I used to dread Dad going to work in the morning because I'm like, what happens when this baby wakes up? And then I used to have like a half-hour window between Dad going to work and Nanny turning up to help me, and I used to get real anxiety in that half an hour.
And I suppose you didn't have like YouTube
Only
stuff.
for a couple of weeks.
Yeah,
when it was really new.
You didn't have like YouTube or social media and stuff.
No, you had a
like,
book.
A book.
A book. Yeah.
Do you know what the book was? What book did you use?
I can't remember, but you used to read like when you were pregnant, stages of pregnancy. It was all in a book, looking in a book. Yeah.
What was your birth like with me?
Quick. Yeah.
Like, so tell me about it.
Okay, so my waters broke. You were about 9 days overdue. My waters broke. We went to hospital. In them days, it was like, well, go home, and if nothing's happened, you can come in tomorrow. But then, for some reason, I went back to hospital. I can't remember why. And then Dad went home, and then the labour started in the middle of the night. So I basically spent the first 4 hours just leaning over the hospital bedside cabinet doing a word search, doing a bit of breathing, because they were like, oh no, it's first baby, we won't get your husband in yet. And then eventually they examined me and realised that I was dilated after 4 hours and needed to push. So they quickly rang Dad, who was Shoreham, 7-8 miles away.
Yeah.
His first question was, will I be able to go? How long is this going to take? Will I be able to go to work tomorrow?
Yeah. My dad is toxic work culture.
Yeah.
Like, didn't have a day off for like 15 years.
But he's a funeral director, so he didn't want to lace family down. He had a funeral booked the next day and he didn't want to not be there. So he came in and literally he was only about an hour and you were born.
Oh.
So it was quick.
And
he was able to go to work.
That was good. You didn't have Nanny there, did you?
No, she didn't even want to know when I went into labour. That was her stipulation. Don't even tell me you're going into labour because I will worry.
Yeah, I didn't tell her that I was in labour either. Well, I did have to ask her whether she'd be a backup birthing partner in case anyone got COVID or anything. And she was like, yeah, that's fine. And I told you were like, what?
Yeah.
Like, that is so unfair.
Yeah, she didn't even want to know because there was no mobile phones. It was all home phones. Don't just ring me when you've had the baby.
Yeah, bless her. What were your best memories from when we were younger?
Holidays, probably. We went on nice holidays. I used to work to pay for those holidays. So, yeah, saving up for holidays and then going and enjoying all the holidays. And you and Sam used to love the holidays.
Where would you say was your best one?
Probably Disney.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was telling someone earlier on about when, and I stand by this was the best way, so I'm not slagging you off, but I was listening to a podcast the other day where they kept talking about, oh yeah, some people are scared that their kids are going to be scared of the fireworks. Some people are going to be scared their kids are going to be scared of the characters. I was like, you just put us on the rides and were like, sorry, you've got to go on. We've brought you all the way here. You've got to go on. And I was crying in the queue of Tower of Terror.
But you loved it.
I loved it, yes.
But I remember Sam one day not wanting to go on the dinosaur ride, so he didn't go on it.
Yeah,
But
mums and their boys.
But yeah, this is years ago when you didn't worry about your kids too much. So me, you and Dad went on the ride and he sat in the control room with some random person watching us going round. So he knew it was, he was that bad that they're like, yeah, they took him into the control room and let him watch the ride going round with us on it. But obviously he wouldn't do that now.
When we were in Abu Dhabi last year, I was at the bottom of the water slide with the camera and Sam had taken Stanley up to the top. And he kept saying, he doesn't want to go down it. And I was like, sit him down and push him. Because I knew he'd enjoy it when he went on it. And I said to Sam afterwards, as in, I have a brother Sam and a husband Sam. I said to my husband Sam afterwards, you were not brought up by Sue Hart and it shows.
Yeah.
Like,
but if you were still crying when you got off the ride, obviously I wouldn't make you go on it again.
Yeah, just once everything.
Just once.
But Stanley will have to go on everything once because it is like what you got to do. Now let's talk about when I was in Love Island, because obviously I signed up for that. You didn't sign up for that. What were your first thoughts when I said I was going on Love Island?
When you were signing up or when you said I've got...
When I was, okay, let's go right up. When I was like, auditioning.
I just thought, so many people auditioned, she won't get it, so it's not an issue. So didn't really think about it. But obviously I'd never watched Love Island. I didn't know what it was about. I had bad ideas in my head what it was about. So, and I was just like, I really didn't want you to do it. I didn't want you to give up your job that you'd worked hard to get and progressed. So I didn't want you to give up your job. So it was a very, very negative on mine and Dad's part.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were very negative about it.
Very negative. And then when I got it, how did you feel? When I said I was going on it?
Same.
Yeah.
Not very happy really, because I guess if I'd have watched a series, I wouldn't have been so bad. But I think the whole thing for me is what I didn't realise that it would lead to other things. I just thought that you give up your job.
Oh, it doesn't for everyone.
No, it doesn't for everybody. But lots of people can go back to the job that they did. You wouldn't have been able to go back. You'd have had to reapply, start at the bottom again. So yeah, I think that was my biggest thing, the job part of it.
I think I was really lucky. I went on in like a series where, you know, you one day was the first girl to leave and she left with like 500,000 followers and an agent, and she worked and still working now. And she was the first one out. Like the year before, Kendall had been the first one to leave and she ended up building herself up to 1 million followers, even though she was the first one out. And we were so lucky to be in that time. And obviously I literally went on to find a boyfriend, as everyone knows, because literally people would say to me like, have you got a boyfriend? And I'd be like, no, but I've just applied for Love Island, so hopefully soon. So I wasn't going in there for that, but I knew because I'd given up my job that like hopefully like it would lead to other things as well. My primary reason for applying was to find a boyfriend. But I think the bits that like you and Dad didn't see or didn't understand were like, I gave up my job that I'd worked so hard for because I knew that I was going in the first week. I knew I was going in on day one. If it had been Casa Amor or if I'd been being put in as a bombshell in week 7, I'd have been a terrible bombshell, so bad, because I'd have been like, is everyone having a lovely holiday? Okay, I'll see you later, bye. Or they would have thought it was like a member of the crew or something when I came in, like, here to change our mic packs or something. So I wouldn't have given up my job for that.
Yeah.
I sort of took that leap of faith because I knew that I was going in day one and I knew there was a better chance of people getting to know my personality, and even like a week of being in there in week 1 is still a lot. What about when I was announced and when I went in there and when it started? Obviously you had your big Love Island party with t-shirts.
Once you were definitely going and you went, we embraced it. So we all had t-shirts made and everybody round to watch the first episode, and it was great.
Apparently there was a moment, I've never watched it back, but apparently there's a moment where in my VT I said something about like, I don't want someone that wants other people, I want someone that's all for me. And then I like Anton walked in and his was like, yeah, I've got a terrible case of the wandering eye. And then I like stepped forward with him and everyone was like, no.
When you step forward for Anton, everybody was shouting at the telly, no, don't do it.
Do it. But then obviously I coupled up with Curtis and it was all going okay. How was it when it was like going well?
It was going really well. I mean, obviously you were all over the telly, the new, I can't remember how they described you, but
Gemma Collins said she liked me on Good Morning Britain.
Yeah, but there was lots of good press and it was all going well. Yeah, so you just think, oh yeah, she's gone in, she's met him, it's all going to be lovely and they're going to come out and they're just going to be together.
Yeah. And then Casa Amor happened. Yeah. How did you feel when Casa Amor was going on?
It was really hard sitting watching that all unfold. But yeah, and for me, it was very distressing seeing you knowing how upset you were going to be, but when it was all unfolding it was distressing, but you're just thinking, and then there was that time when Curtis obviously was sat on his own when you came back, and I think maybe for a little while he was thinking, I'm just not going to mention the other girl, I can't even remember what her name was. I'm not even going to mention her and I'll just carry on with Amy. So that was hard to think that then, but I kind of guessed that other people, the boys would tell the girls and you would find out. But he was honest with you. And I'm glad that you did not stay together and just push on through the episodes, etc. But yeah, it was really hard watching, and it got to the stage where there was those, I can't remember how long it was between It
was like a week.
That whole week, I barely left the house, because you know what Broadwater's like where we live. Yeah. You walk down the road and everybody's coming up to you, oh, poor Amy. And it was like, I was so distressed about it. I just couldn't walk down the street because I just didn't want people asking me questions.
Yeah. And didn't you say that you used to go to bed and just cry in the middle of the day? Yeah. Of course, I'm going to cry now.
I know. It was really hard.
Okay. I see. My mum's very emotional. I'm not.
I know.
I'm not. I'm like, lol.
Yeah, don't do this to me.
But yeah, and then obviously when I came home, could you, was it weird for you, how much my life did change? Did you think, obviously I left and went in as a normal person, and then came out, obviously you had the gradual build up of me being announced, me being on telly every night and stuff.
So it was mad.
What it was going to be a bit. But would you say you didn't?
No, I can remember when you first came out and we went to London with Charlie and we were in the car.
Yeah.
I just need to. Yeah. And we were in the car and people were banging on the taxi window. Amy!
Yeah, that was.
Yeah, banging on the taxi window, and we were walking down the street, and I remember, I don't know why, I vividly remember this girl, we walked past her and then she sort of realised it was you, and she stopped you and turned around and went, Amy, well done. That was so good. Leaving is just, yeah.
We still get it now, in that people walk past and they did, and as they, and you see them realise they walk past and they're looking,
yeah.
Hi, it's me.
Yeah.
So I never know what to do. It's really awkward.
I normally say, as we walk past and they're like this and they're like, I just normally say, you can speak to her. She'll have a photo with you.
On my hen do, where we spoke to everybody in Villamora. We loved it so much. What would obviously in my old job you got to do a lot of cool things. I have all right, Sam, my brother, is carrying on the family business, but I have bought you a lot of good things.
Yeah.
When I worked at BA, you got to go all over the world with me. What have been some of your favourite experiences since this life?
I really enjoyed going to Dancing on Ice. Yeah. I don't know. I can't remember what we've done really. Remind me.
You got to go on Good Morning Britain. You got to go on this morning with Philip and Holly.
Yeah, that was
you loved. You were very excited about that when I came home.
No, that was why we went in.
When I got home, you were like, "I've been on this morning with Philip and Holly."
Yeah, but that was funny because, like you say, I don't really like being in the. But when we went on there, because obviously everything was unfolding and you weren't in a good place, and so I sort of said to Dad, "Don't you say anything. I'm doing all the talking." So yeah.
And you got to come to Loose Women with me as well.
Yeah, that was good.
We got to meet Ruth Langsford.
Maybe we came twice to Loose Women. Yeah. So yeah, all the things. And we did.
Because Loose Women was my first live TV, isn't it? And I'm obsessed with Ruth Langsford. She is my inspiration in life. I want to be like her when I grow up. People like, do you want to be a TV presenter? I'm like, I want to be a broadcaster like Ruth.
She put her arm around you.
I was going to say, she wasn't. She was doing this morning because it was the summer. And the first thing I asked when I went into Loose Women was, is Ruth on today? And they said, no, she's not, she's in this morning. I was just about to go on and there's a knock at the door and it was Ruth Langsford. And do you remember everyone was like, you can see your pants under your dress. So I was taking my pants off as the door opened, and it was Ruth Langsford. And she came in and she was so kind to me, and they're like, "Oh, we need to go up." So I'm about to go on live TV for the first time, and apart from After Sun, and Ruth had her arm around me, and you said you were walking behind, like, okay,
what is going on?
What do I do then? Like, because you've got Amy. So what do I do? I'm just here.
Yeah.
But
when we went on GMB, we did blind date, didn't we?
Blind date. You and Richard Arnold.
Yeah, had a little blind date.
It was Valentine's Day. Was it Valentine's Day? No, because that was still
I think
September.
they had what's his
name? Brett
Syriac. They had him on, didn't they?
They had him on. And we've got to go on like some cool trips as well, haven't we? Got to go to fun places. Got to go to press nights of shows.
Yeah, we went to Turkey.
Went to Turkey with Stanley when he was like 11 weeks old. His second holiday. Bless him. Which now when I look back, he was probably quite small, but at the time I was like, yeah, cool. We've got a job. We've got to go. Sorry.
Yeah, he was fine though.
On that note, I always say to everyone that I wouldn't be able to do my job if it wasn't for you. Obviously, you are basically Stanley's full-time nan, but also his full-time nanny. So how has it been becoming a grandparent?
Oh, it's been lovely. I was in work the other day and I'd forgotten something, and I said to this guy at work, I said, I'm really sorry I forgot that. It's either menopause or it's baby brain. My body thinks it's had a baby because I have Stanley so much.
But how nice. But my nan used to have me, didn't she? And my granny used to have me.
Yeah, but it was only like I worked like 3 mornings. And I would drop you off at 8:30 and I would pick you up at 1:10 after I finished work at 1. Obviously, I always normally have to come and pick Stanley up, and then I'm texting you at 6:30. What time are you coming? Because I'd like to get on with our dinner.
But a lot of people don't let their parents look after their children, so you should feel grateful that you get to have. And you do have a great bond with Stanley.
Yeah, I do. Yeah,
and so does Dad.
Yeah.
And you get to spend so much time with him and stuff, and you know you get those sleepovers.
Yeah,
it's lovely.
It is lovely.
I do feel really lucky that I have you guys to help me with childcare, because a lot of people I talk to, I think because of how we grew up, and you know when you and Dad wanted to go out, nanny or granny would babysit us, or Auntie Jane.
Yeah.
I think because of how we grew up, and then now we do patching, like we patch the gaps of where the childcare is needed to be. Like the day I was at Aintree and you were on holiday, so everyone did like 2 hours each. I just assume that's normal, and it's so not. So I'm very grateful. So thank you.
It's okay.
And for you to be able to give Auntie Jane time off work if you're not here to look after.
Don't do that very often.
No, but Auntie Jane's there as well. You gave me lots of advice when I had Stanley. You always used to say, "I'm not telling you how to be a mum, but this." Like, what would be your biggest piece of advice for new mums?
Just
from someone who's done it, and then like,
just don't expect too much. Relax. Routine. I know you don't have routine with Stanley, but I would say but not really.
I think it's easier to have routine if you have routine in your job.
Yeah,
I don't have routine in my job, so on the days like when I come and film the podcast, that we have a routine. Then we have set times, we have set things. 1 day out of 7, there you go, got a routine.
No, advice is just enjoy it.
Yeah,
enjoy being a parent. Don't stress too much, which I probably did as a young parent, and looking back now I should probably just relaxed a bit more and enjoyed it. But
so I always say about how you say that Stanley, I treat him like he's my 3rd child, so you've got no idea what I'm going to be like with a 2nd child, like how laid back I'm going to be.
Yeah,
I'm just too lazy to get stressed about things. You were at my birth, which a lot of my friends were like, you're going to have your mum at your birth. Like, what the hell?
I don't even remember how that came about, really.
I think because I was always going to have a baby on my own, wasn't I, before I met Sam?
Yeah.
So it was going to be you and Hannah. And then when I met Sam, I told Hannah, like, I've met this guy. And her first thing was, Hannah's my best friend, by the way. Her first thing was, oh, so does that mean when you have a baby, I'm not your birthing partner anymore? Because you've got a boyfriend. So she was very annoyed about that.
Yeah.
So I did always say to you. And to be fair, I did say to Sam, like, I've always just assumed that that's going to happen. Like, are you okay with that? And Sam was like, yes, I'd like your mum there, please.
Yeah, I have to. Yeah, and I leading up to the birth, I did keep saying, if the day comes and you're in labour and you think, actually, I would like it to be just us two, and I don't need my mum there, I would not be offended, which I wouldn't. I feel very privileged because I don't know many people that have their mums at the birth, but
You got to see your first grandchild be born.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, that was
Traumatizing.
I said, second time round, I'll look after Stanley. It's fine. I don't need to be there. I've done it once. Don't need to do it again. But I think Sam actually
What did Sam say to you on the phone when he called you?
Me there more than what you did. He called me and was like, yeah, I think you need to come. Amy wants you to come now. And I said, okay, yeah, I'm coming. And then when I got there, you were like, oh, you're here. So yeah, I think he wanted me more than what you did in the end for support.
I think it's because when he kept calling the midwives.
And they were like, no.
And they were like, no, she's fine. He was like, she's really not fine.
And then I got there and I took control and I said, right, ring the hospital and tell them we're coming.
Yeah. And for her, I had blood in my wee, so I had to go anyway. They were going to send me home, weren't they? Because they were like, no, you're able to talk. You're clearly not in that much pain. And they measured me and I was 10 centimetres dilated, which was fun.
Yeah. The midwife actually said, didn't she? Oh, I'm surprised, Amy. I thought I'd be sending you home. And I thought, you haven't seen her for the last. You won't be bringing her home. 5 days.
Yeah. But how did that feel to get to see that?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was very emotional, but it was. But then I found, as soon as he was born, I felt like a bit of a spare part because that's you and Sam should have been with him. So I did go into the toilet and ring Dad.
Yeah.
So I stayed in there for a little while to leave you alone.
And then you had to go home and do all the ordering of all the clothes because we didn't know what we were having. So this is another tip. If you don't know what you're having, lots of people say to me, but how can you prepare? I basically did 2 lists on my phone, a girls list and a boys list with links, sizes and everything, and sent them to my mum so that then as soon as the baby was born, she could then just go to the list for a boy and order everything, and it came the next day.
But we had lots of neutral stuff anyway, so
I only had 7 baby grows.
Yeah.
Which everyone told me I was ridiculous. Anyway, we didn't need 7 baby grows.
No.
It was more than enough. So Mother's Day is this week. Do you think you should be getting a grandmother's card? Or do you think it's just Mother's Day? Or do you think you should celebrate all the women in your life?
I think it's just Mother's Day. Yeah, I don't. When you were little, I never used to buy my mum a card from you. It's Mother's Day.
Yeah.
So it's for me to give my mum a card and presents. Obviously, I used to put your name in it, but yeah.
Okay. And what are you doing for Mother's Day?
I'm taking Nanny, my mum, obviously, to London on the Saturday to see Devil Wears Prada. Auntie Jane, my sister, is coming. So we're taking Nanny on a nice day out in London on the Saturday. Not sure on the Sunday. I don't know if you've got any surprises for me or your brother Sam has. But at the moment, I'm free.
I'm taking you to Reformer Pilates.
Yeah, lovely. Yeah.
Because I think you'll really like it.
Yeah, no, I am looking forward to it, actually.
But probably not on Mother's Day.
No.
But we'll probably do lunch or something.
Yeah, I can't do that on a Sunday.
That's it for Amy Hart's Mums Club this week. Big thank you to my mum, Sue, for coming in and being my guest. Happy Mother's Day to you. Happy Mother's Day to all of you. And if you're finding it harder to celebrate this year, we are thinking of you and sending you loads of love. Don't forget to keep up to date with my socials at Amy Hart XO on Instagram, at Amy Hart on TikTok, and the podcast socials are at Amy Hart's Mums Club on Instagram and TikTok. And don't forget, if you want to send me any questions or anything about the podcast, Amy Hart's Mums Club at news.co.uk. I'll be back next week with another special guest. Until then, have a lovely week and I'll speak to you soon.